something to prove. You know that I wanna lose. He ain't gonna leave this here. This why he ain't gonna be that year. Yeah, that's too sincere. I don't really think I could be that clear. I'ma be right here, but y'all know that. Wanna feed my fist, try to hold me back. Y'all do that, try to hold me down. Karma is real and it's coming around. Yeah, we done came for it all, and we ain't backing down, no. We rising up. We rising up. Yeah, now look it up. We rising up.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of On the Clock Baseball. We've been gone for a while because there hasn't been a ton to talk about. There have been a few kind of noteworthy things since I was here last. We'll get to them, but as I'm recording right now, I just looked down at my phone, or rather, as I'm setting up to record, I look down at my phone and see breaking news that the Reds have traded for Gavin Lux. Now, so this is going to be kind of my immediate response to that trade. I don't know if we know what the return is for it here. Let me check quick. Prospect Mike Sirota and a draft pick is the return. So on the Dodgers side, this totally makes sense because they just signed Kim out of the KBO. So Gavin Lux presumably wasn't going to get a lot of playing time, with Kim kind of slotting into the role that he's going to fill with the team. However, on the Reds side of things, I don't know if this makes a ton of sense, right? Because they have, I mean, it does if Lux will play third, because I know they have Noelvi Marte. So the infield that the Reds have as of right now is Noelvi Marte at third, De La Cruz at short, McCain at second, and Steer at first. So I don't know, in theory, where Gavin Lux is going to play. I think he can play some outfield as well. But it seems like he's being traded to the Reds kind of to fill a similar role, unless they would rather have him at second over McCain, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So this is kind of like, you're getting my initial thoughts as I'm processing this trade in my brain and trying to figure out how it makes sense for the Reds to acquire this player. And I don't know, like, maybe I'll have to hop back on here later and once I, put some more analysis to it. But this is kind of interesting because we've never really had this where I hit the record button, or I'm just about to hit the record button, and all of a sudden I get some sort of breaking news on my phone. So yeah, this one's interesting to me. Makes sense for the Dodgers to ship him out, like I said, but not really sure what the Reds plan to do with him. I guess time will tell on that one. Since I've been gone, of course, a couple of things have happened. A couple of the big ones is Cody Bellinger was traded to the Yankees, and I think it's a smart move on the Yankees' part. The Cubs wanted to get rid of him after signing Kyle Tucker, or not signing, but trading for Kyle Tucker. It's a lefty power bat in the middle of the order for the Yankees. Does it replace Soto? Absolutely not, but it's still a good move on their part to start to piece together, because when you look at what the Yankees have done, right, they lost Soto, but they immediately went and they got Fried, which is run prevention. They got Devin Williams, which is run prevention. Now they got Bellinger, that's going to replace some of that pop, some of that presence in the lineup. Obviously, Soto is on a whole different tier than Bellinger, but they're making the right moves to supplement the team and to start to replace what they lost in not being able to retain Juan Soto. Probably the biggest one that's happened since I've been gone, though, is the Corbin Burns to the Diamondbacks. And I'm going to be honest, just like most of the baseball world, did not see this one coming. I think Coley Mick might be the only person on the planet that saw this coming. But, I thought he was going to San Fran, for sure. But it turns out that he lives in Arizona. He wanted to be in Arizona, and he actually approached the Diamondbacks and was like, hey, I live here. I just had a kid. I don't want to be gone, all season long from my family. Well, let's make a deal. Really put the Diamondbacks in a good position to sign him. because he himself, again, approached them, which is not necessarily something that happens every day. It's usually the team approaching the free agent player saying, hey, we want you to come here. Here's our pitch. Here's our starting offer. It's very rare that it happens the other way around, where the player goes to the team and says, hey, this is where I want to be. What'll you pay me to be here? Right? Like, that just doesn't happen as often as it does the other way around. So, interesting move. The Diamondbacks get him for 6 years, guaranteed too, because he has an opt-out after the first 2 years. Really makes you wonder if Zach Gallen will definitely be departing in free agency now after this season is over, because they just don't have the spots in the rotation for him. And they're still looking for a trade partner for Jordan Montgomery. So, Diamondbacks offseason I don't think is anywhere near done yet. Teoscar Hernandez re-signs with the Dodgers for 3 years. Teoscar was always going back to the Dodgers, in my opinion. It was just too good of a matchup to not be there. And it was just a matter of time and coming to the right amount of money. So, happy for Teoscar. I would have loved to see him in Boston, but there was never a doubt in my mind that once he said he wanted to be in LA, that he wasn't going to be in LA. So this one doesn't surprise me a whole lot. Before I get into these last two stories, I want to give a bit of a shout out to The Last Dive Bar, an organization that is kind of the last bastion of baseball hope in Oakland, trying to get MLB to step in and force the A's hand at staying there. I don't think it's going to happen, but I commend the efforts and the preservation for the fans. I ordered some stuff from them to support them. I obviously am not an Oakland A's fan. I'm a Red Sox fan, but I support baseball and I support good causes. So when I saw this, I had to support it. This is not a paid ad. They didn't ask me to do this. I'm just giving them a shout out. Go to thelastdivebar.com if you want to get some merch yourself. I'll show off this really cool Tumblr that I got from them. It has all the really cool stuff that's happened at the Coliseum over the years. And probably my favorite, when you look right here, you'll see the Ricky holding up the base. And oddly enough, I had forgotten that I made this order from the Last Dive Bar, and it came just about an hour after I realized or had learned that Ricky Henderson had passed away. So it was really kind of a surreal moment to be kind of mourning the loss of one of the greatest players in baseball history, and then receive this package that had an obvious tribute to him on both the tumbler and the matching t-shirt that I ordered from them. So rest in peace, Ricky. Also, the other big piece of news. I know it's happened a few weeks ago. I've been gone, but I'd be remiss if I didn't at least, tip my cap and say, rest in peace to a legend, because he was. I watched him a lot in the 90s when I was growing up. Obviously, that was towards the later part of his career, but he still brought it every day. He will be missed among the baseball community for sure. So the next to last thing that I want to touch on is some Roki Sasaki stuff, right? We're all still kind of waiting to see where he's going to go, kind of a la Shohei 2018. We were all wondering the same thing, but a couple things I want to touch on here that I find really interesting. 10 teams didn't even reach out to him, which is absolutely ludicrous. If you have a chance to sign a guy like this for the league minimum, you got to at least pick up the phone. My guess is that these 10 teams knew that they didn't even have a shot, so they didn't even try. But I still feel like at that point, you got to try, right? You got to make your pitch, even if you know he's not coming to you. So it just absolutely baffles me that there were 10 teams that didn't even pick up the phone or write an email saying, hey, we would like to meet with you. It's just crazy when you look at a guy who had the stats that he did in the NPB, had a down year last year, and still one of the best in the league. So that's just absolutely crazy. Of the 20 teams that did reach out to him, several have not been granted meetings, obviously. Probably most surprisingly among them are the Phillies and my Red Sox. Why it surprises me that the Red Sox didn't get a meeting was Craig Breslow took it upon himself to go over there and scout the guy last year. But where it doesn't surprise me, and I've been saying this for a year plus, even before I had a podcast to say it on, but the way that the Red Sox have treated Masataka Yoshida is going to impact their ability to sign Roki Sasaki and other NPB players for the foreseeable future. And now that this is happening, I can kind of look at other Red Sox fans and say, I told you so. Because the Red Sox have a guy in Yoshida that was considered one of the best players in Japan and somewhat of a legend in Japan when he came over here. Now, obviously, those numbers haven't panned out on the U.S. side, but he has been a far more serviceable player than the Red Sox are treating him like. They treat him like he cannot play defense. Now, on the road, sure, I kind of agree with that. But with the wall at Fenway, I'm like, we survived 8 years of Manny frickin' Ramirez out there. Like, why can't Yoshida get a few reps out there when we got injured players? Like, they absolutely refused to play him in the outfield last year, which I think is absolutely insane. And I just think that the way that they're handling this, they're not going to be signing any more NPB players for a long time unless they find a way to make it right. Now, I've been a Yoshida supporter from day one, but I'm at the point now where it's like, if you're not going to let him at least DH every day, trade him and let him go somewhere where he has a chance at consistent playing time. Because the one thing that he has shown us, when he stays healthy and is on the field and gets those little glimpses of consistent playing time, he can be an absolute machine with a bat in the clutch, right? Like, I go back to that 9th inning home run at Yankee Stadium last year. It's one of my favorite moments of the 2024 season. I mean, the dude is a monster when he's right. And if you're not going to give him that chance to be right, let him get his reps against lefties and stuff like that too. Just trade him and get it over with. Send him somewhere where he's got a chance to play every day. The problem is, and I'm going to touch on this a little bit more in my last segment, but the problem with that is I don't think anybody else wants him right now because of the way that the stats are boding. But getting back to Sasaki for a minute, I really think it's between the Dodgers and the Padres at this point. The Rangers are a wild card to me as well, as are the Pirates. I don't know if the Pirates have officially met with him, but I've been saying for a while, like, a rotation of Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, and Roki Sasaki would be nasty. But I wouldn't be surprised if he is a Padre at the end of the day. I touched on a little bit a few weeks ago. The one reason that the Dodgers seem iffy to me is because Japan seems to be mad at Sasaki for doing this. And when you have Yamamoto and an Ohtani, and you have all of this ad revenue coming from Japan and all of this goodwill with Japan, because the Dodgers have a large fan base in Japan because they have Ohtani and Yamamoto. And if Japan is angry at Sasaki for leaving early, why would the Dodgers jeopardize that cash cow that they have with these exclusive deals to air the games in Japan and think, well, maybe they'll stop watching because they're mad at Sasaki? I don't know if that plays into it, but that's one of the reasons why I think the Padres and the other teams on these lists might actually have a better shot than the Dodgers, even though everybody seems to think he will end up with the Dodgers. And there's still a chance. I'm not counting it out. That would be stupid on my part to count it out. But that's what I got on Sasaki. Hopefully we'll know more within the next week or two on, well, we're going to have to, because his window to sign is starting to run out. He'll have about 15 days after the international signing pool money resets on the 15th. So we'll see where he ends up. It'll probably be within the next month for sure. Last thing that I want to touch on before getting out of here is the Alex Bregman stuff. I personally can't believe he hasn't signed yet. And I'm going to preface this segment with saying this. One of the hardest things that I find as a content creator trying to break into the baseball podcasting, reporting, writing, whatever you want to call this realm that we're in, one of the hardest things for me to break into it is finding your voice and finding who I am as a personality, what my opinions are on things. And the hardest part of that is when I have an opinion that somewhat mirrors the popular opinion, you have people coming in and saying, you're just regurgitating what all the big markets say and what all the popular people say, and you're just piggybacking off of their takes and regurgitating it, trying to get clicks, which no is not the case. The takes that come out of my mouth are my genuine opinion, whether they reap whether they like mesh with the national opinion or not. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I've got a take coming out here in a minute that I think doesn't match the general fan base opinion. And my opinion on Yoshida obviously doesn't match the general Red Sox fan base opinion either. But then when I have those opinions that differ from the largely conventional fan opinion that most of the fan base has, then those same people that say that I'm pandering to the fans will be like, oh, well, that's a stupid take, you're an idiot. So, like, I can't win either way. I'm either pandering to the fans with everybody else, or I'm an idiot. But what I want you to take away from listening to this is that my takes are just my genuine opinion, my thoughts and analysis on stuff. I don't care if they align with the general belief or differ from the general belief. And that said, I do not personally think that Alex Bregman is a great fit for the Red Sox. I know a lot of people do, but I don't see it. I don't see Bregman being a fit for the Red Sox on this roster, and I don't see the fit being a long-term fit unless the plan next year is to either not go after Vlad Guerrero in free agency, which would be wouldn't surprise me, but would be a stupid move on the part of John Henry and the Fenway Sports Group and Craig Breslow. Or if the plan is to go after Guerrero and trade Casas, which I also think would be potentially equally as stupid. But like, those are the only two worlds where that makes sense. But I just don't see, in the short or the long term, Bregman or even Arenado for that matter being a good fit with this team. I'm not saying I would be upset if they either signed Bregman or traded for Arenado. But I just don't see the logical fit, because you create this unnecessary logjam. I mean, let's run some hypotheticals, right? If the team is as it stands now, Devers is your third baseman, Yoshida is at least a platoon DH, I think it fits a lot more to run with this team and let the young guys get some playing time, get some at-bats. You have Vaughn Grissom, who I know he was hurt last year. He underperformed, and it hurt even more that the guy that we traded for him in Chris Sale won a Cy Young with the Braves. I get that, so I get like that Vaughn Grissom is either the fans don't like him, or they're out on him, or they've forgotten about him. But here's the reality. He is the youngest player on the team, or at least he was last year. He was the youngest player on the not on the 40-man roster, but he was the youngest player to play a game for the Red Sox last year. He's the youngest kid on the team, and he still has time to develop. I don't think he's going to be ultimately a great defender, but I do think that there is still time for him to be that bat that the Red Sox want him to be, whether that is at second base, left field, or even DH or third base, right? Like, the dude's got options of where he can play. He's a little bit versatile. And then you have Christian Campbell, who is knocking on the door of the big leagues, number one prospect in all of baseball, named recently, won minor league player of the year. So no, Roman Anthony is the number one prospect in all of baseball. What I meant was, and then you have Christian Campbell, who is knocking on the door of the big leagues, one of two Red Sox prospects that are trying to make their way up. Campbell, of course, was named the minor league player of the year for 2024, and then the Red Sox have the number one prospect in all of baseball in Roman Anthony. So my opinion is, let these young guys come up and play. And you also have David Hamilton, who can hit from the left side, who, when he was on last year, he was one of the hottest players in baseball for those couple months that he was on. If he can replicate those couple of months, we're in good shape. I think it makes a lot more sense to let these young guys play. And as much as Red Sox fans don't want to hear this, give Yoshida the full-time DH role for right now. Let him hit righties, let him hit lefties. because right now his trade value, I mentioned this a few minutes ago, right now his trade value is nothing. Nobody wants this guy. And you need to give him some consistent playing time to try to get his trade value up a little bit, and then maybe flip him at the deadline or flip him after this year. So it doesn't make a ton of sense to me in the short term or the long term to sign Bregman or trade for Arenado if you're the Red Sox, because it creates a logjam, and it creates a world where you don't even try to go after Vlad Guerrero next offseason, which again would be ludicrous. And if you can, right, like if Yoshida can get his trade value up, and then you can flip him, and then you can move Devers to DH and have Guerrero play third and Casas play first, or if you want to move, if you do end up wanting to trade Casas, which I'm not in favor of either, then Guerrero is your first baseman, Devers is your DH, and maybe Vaughn Grissom can have a shot at third, or Marcelo Meyer or Christian Campbell. Like, there are options internally that I think fit the Red Sox better than Arenado Bregman. The one thing, though, I know there's going to be some comments that say this, so I will address it, and I understand this. The one thing that one of those guys would bring to the table is a veteran leadership that this clubhouse is missing, and this clubhouse desperately needs. So I could definitely see going after one of them on that regard. If you were going to go after one of these guys for the sake of veteran leadership, my money is on Arenado. Like, I want Arenado over Bregman, if that's your reasoning. I also think that, and this is no shot at Bregman, I think Arenado's a better defender. And even though he has some down years offensively, I do think that wall could kind of revitalize his career at 33 years old. Kind of similar to Mike Lowell when he came over. Everybody forgets how bad Mike Lowell was with the Marlins. And that he was just kind of a throw-in, like salary dump thrown in with Josh Beckett in that trade. And then he won the World Series MVP in 2007 because that wall revitalized his career. And that's what I could see happening for Arenado if Arenado were to be traded to the Red Sox. But that's all I've got for you guys. Glad to hop on, catch up with you guys, talk some baseball. Off season has been kind of slow lately, unfortunately. So we will be back on when there's stuff to talk about. Obviously, we got all the other stuff coming out on the channel, prospect interviews, the MLB The Show podcast, the card podcast. We got content on the channel. Content on the channel is not slow, even though the off season has been, but we'll definitely talk about news and things when they happen. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to leave you with some prospect interviews from the last few weeks, and we'll see you on the next one. We're somewhat of an unknown prospect, and then you kind of started to rise through the ranks, and I think you're starting to get a little bit more well-known, and everybody that we've talked to, at least from what I'm hearing, speaks of you very highly. So what's that process been to kind of like rise through the ranks?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a grind, man. I mean, every day you come to the field with all your teammates who are honestly your best friends. And you're going day to day at the field for 10 hours. Picking each other's brains about pitching stuff, weightlifting stuff, nutrition. I mean, it's all over. Even in the training room, like certain soft tissue stuff you might get done to make you feel better the next day, or whatever to get your body to recover a little bit faster. But honestly, like I don't pay too much attention to all the prospect stuff. I just like to go out there and play, go out there and compete with everybody else. And
Rob Manfred has come out and said that they are going to try the challenge system in spring training, see how it goes. Can you give us a hint as MLB fans what to expect from this system?
I think it's good to have it to where you can challenge. You have a certain amount of pitches, just like we kind of challenge like in regular plays, like out calls at first and second base, all around the diamond. Being able to have that challenge there, I think it's good. I mean, I'm a big fan of I truly believe this is an imperfect game. I mean, players are going to make mistakes, coaches are going to make mistakes, and umpires are going to make mistakes. I think that is what makes this game so beautiful, is that it is an imperfect game. I know it can be incredibly frustrating at times. I mean, we all know that firsthand, how frustrating it can be when umpires seem to miss calls and that kind of stuff. But I think that kind of adds to the beauty of the game. But being able to have some leeway in there in certain situations.
Do your best to describe what it was like stepping on that big league mound for the first time.
Yeah, it was awesome. I wasn't sure where my family was in the stands, but I knew they were out there, and that was basically the only people that I knew, obviously. And I stepped up on the mound. I felt 30 feet tall. I felt like I was on top of the world. And it was really cool. My warm ups, all I was trying to do was throw it to where Connor Wong could catch the ball. Wasn't worried about the strike zone at all. And then as soon as the first hitter got in, I was like, all right, crap, I got to throw a strike now. We'll see how that goes. But no, it was awesome. It was fun. It was an unbelievable experience. I don't know if I could tell you anything that happened during the game, but I kind of just blacked out and went for it.
You told us that your nickname was the Chicken Farmer when you go out there and pitch. So how'd that nickname come about?
See, I believe that when I first got to Greenville, I wore a T-shirt that said "We Hunt Farms" on the back of it, and was a big chicken. And so I think when I wore that, everybody started messing with me about it. And then the word got around to the whole organization, that I was the Chicken Farmer. And then next thing I know, Greenville Drive post a lineup on Instagram, and they're like, "Oh, on the mound is the Chicken Farmer." So, and ever since then, it kind of just expanded. Like every time I pitched, it was Chicken Farmer takes the mound again. Chicken Farmer's on the mound tonight. And so I kind of just got used to it, to the point to where if they didn't call me Chicken Farmer, it was like, oh, what's going on,
You're around these guys all the time. So give me a name or two of a guy that you think should be on fans' radar.
I'd definitely say We Hunt for sure. He kind of took off a little bit, kind of his name with the Chicken Farmer or that. So like that definitely got people to kind of recognize or kind of like look into him and see him. But like before that, it like when you watched him pitch in spring training and kind of right when we got drafted, you're like, oh, this guy knows exactly what he's doing. He can move well for being 6'6", 6'7", or whatever he is. But yeah, I mean, definitely I'd say We Hunt for sure.
You got to talk to me about what's behind you, because that is probably one of the coolest things that I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, it's our bat wall. So me and my brother for about the past 10 years have been working, and every time we break a bat, it goes up there, which is probably not a good thing.
That doesn't necessarily seem like a bad thing to me, because it's a wall of remembering to learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
And I bet every one of those bats, that's a hurt hand right there. Just that stinging. My dad, a lot of these bats here are bats that he made outside in our shed, and he does a little, gets the billet and spins it, and at first it took him about 8 hours to build a bat. Now he can do it in 3. I'm like, you gotta start selling these. And
who are some of your maybe favorite teammates that you play with coming up through the minor leagues?
I've had a lot of great friends. I mean, obviously Christian Campbell, he was a great guy. We were throwing partners in Greenville before I got hurt, and then obviously he ended up in AAA, and wouldn't surprise me if he breaks camp this year. Had a great season, minor league player of the year. But surrounding myself with guys like that and being able to compete with those dudes every day, we got a lot of really good players that are in this organization, and it's you play other teams throughout the season, and you're like, man, I don't know if anybody's got the depth and got the players that we got.
I made a pick on here for Campbell to break camp with the Red Sox and hit a home run in his first at bats. So here's hoping.
I tell you what, that dude is a dog right there. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that happens.
Give me a name or two of guys in the minor leagues that people need to be thinking of.
I mean, this is probably a guy that everyone's been thinking of. I mean, especially because he got added to the 40-man, but Hunter Dobbins. I was with him a decent amount during spring training. We played catch together a decent amount just because we were in the same group and whatever. But, I mean, he's a great guy, but he's also really good. Like, he throws 5 different pitches for strikes and also throws pretty hard. And he did very well this season. It was the pitcher of the year for our org. So I think that's definitely something that people need to keep their eye on.
I one time I jailbroke my phone and I was like swipe over to the side and all my apps would like combine and like swirl out, and everyone's like, "How'd you do that?" And I was like, give me $20, I could do it for you. And they're like,
Yep.
all right, sweet.
I feel you, man. I was the kid. It was like, hey, can you get my system to do this for free? Can you find me this album for free? This movie, this, that,
Yeah.
all the stuff that we used to be able to do. And if you didn't protect your IP, your internet would get flagged, and you would get so many times before you had to switch internet providers. We had to do that a couple of times.
Yep.